Hey there, PCOS fighters. Now, I've got something really awesome for you today. Actually, new research just came out on the 20th. I found out about it on Friday. I've been doing a bunch of research all weekend, looking at all the aspects of this thing. And I want to share with you today because this can make a huge impact in you losing weight, in you taking care of your PCOS, and you seeing the success that you want to see. Now, if you want to work with me, if you want me as your coach, go ahead and go to fatextractionmethod.com and you can schedule a time where we can talk. We can create a customized plan for you and help you see the success you're looking for. Now, here's what happened, okay? Now, first off, I guess let me explain something. Okay. Now, we all know the fat extraction method, or at least that's something I talk about on a regular basis, is this whole fat extraction method. And there's 4 parts to that method, okay? We got the first part, which is where we actually, we work with your appetite and cravings, okay? The second part is where we work with your fat cells and we stop them from storing fat. The third part of the fat extraction method is where we actually get fat to come out of your fat cells. And the fourth part is where we get your muscles able to handle that fat better, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, here's the important thing. We're going to talk about the fourth part a little bit more today and something that specifically works with that. See, here's what happened. Every Friday, I get an email from a certain organization that looks at all of, sends me an email with all the latest research on whatever topic I want. And so one of those topics I look for is PCOS. And so I get an email and it's got, I don't know, about 10, 20 or so different studies that have been released the previous week. Some of them are things that I don't necessarily care about. They're typically with mice or things like that. And so I'm not necessarily concerned about it. Well, there was another one that was kind of interesting and it caught my eye. And so I went and looked at it. And what they were doing in the study is they were trying to find a way to see if we could diagnose PCOS a little bit better. Right? Does that make sense? So they wanted to be able to diagnose PCOS because right now there's the Rotterdam criteria and a lot of people are missed. There's a lot of people that I've talked to who, to me, have the symptoms of PCOS, but they haven't been diagnosed with it because they don't have cysts on their ovaries or because they don't have the high androgens. Because right now the criteria we have, the Rotterdam criteria says that we have to have 2 of the 3 different symptoms. There has to be anovulation, so no ovulation happening. There has to be high androgens and or cysts on the ovaries. If you have 2 of those 3, you can be diagnosed with PCOS. But they want a better criteria. And so these researchers were going in looking at different metabolic pathways, and they were drawing blood and doing different tests to see if they could find something. But they found something really interesting. Now this thing that they found is not necessarily involved in the diagnosis of PCOS, but it can be involved in the treatment of PCOS. Okay? Here's what they found. In your liver, you create this molecule called carnitine. Now, carnitine has a very specific or a very special role that we'll talk about in just a second. But with women with PCOS, carnitine is not produced at the same level. It's actually hard for your livers to produce the carnitine. Okay? This is pretty big. We didn't know this before. I understood carnitine for a long time. I've recommended it to several people, but I didn't know that with PCOS, it plays such a big role, because you can't create it. Now, let me kind of explain what carnitine does, okay? So I've drew up this little special diagram for you, but okay, this is your fat cell, right? The little squiggly lines, these are this is fat. Here's what happens, okay? We have to release the fat from our fat cells, and it has to go into our bloodstream right here, right? So it goes into our bloodstream, we take it to our muscles or other cells, and we have to use it. But here's what has to happen. This blue circle right here, this is your mitochondria. This is where you actually use fat. Okay, does that make sense? You can get it all the way to here, but if it gets stuck right here, you'll never use it. Well, what will happen is eventually you'll either store it somewhere around the cell, you'll kick it out back in the bloodstream, and it will go back to your fat cells and be stored again. So we have to get it across this membrane right here into the mitochondria. Well, what takes care of that? Something called L-carnitine. Okay, L-carnitine binds to the fat and pulls it into the mitochondria. So the more carnitine you have, the more fat you can get into your fat cells, right? Does this make sense? Okay, so we can break down all the fat we want. We can move all the fat to our cells that we want. We can even take it into our cells, all the fat we want, so we can get it into our cells. But until we can get it into the mitochondria, we cannot use it. That's why with the whole fat extraction method, I make sure I talk about that fourth part, making sure the muscles can actually handle the fat. Because again, we ship it there, doesn't matter. Well, this is new. We didn't know until just recently that carnitine, there actually needs to be more research done on this, but to really make sure this is 100% true, but as of right now, we didn't know that carnitine was not produced at the same level in women with PCOS. And so if you don't have that carnitine, you cannot move the fat into the fat cell, and you can't use it. Okay, so is this making sense? I hope it is. Okay, here's the important thing. Now we can start taking care of that, because you can supplement with carnitine. And this is a supplement that's been on the market forever. It's been used for weight loss, but it's just, I mean, it's kind of effective, but not really that effective. When people take carnitine, they'll see some results with it. They'll lose some fat, but it's nothing to get really excited about. And that's not like, that's why it's not one of the, things on my list where I'm like, everyone take carnitine. Okay. But I'm at the point now, after all the research I did this week, of saying, if you have PCOS, you need to be on carnitine, but you also need to be taking more than what's recommended. Okay. So here's what I want to make sure I got this all right. We're covering everything we need to. Okay. So here's one study that I found was really, really interesting. Okay. The study came out, and what it said was this, is they had several people come in, and, there's a couple different studies this way, but this one actually had women come in who were, what do they call them? They said they were resistant to Clomid. Okay, so Clomid is a fertility drug, and I know a lot of women with PCOS have tried Clomid, and some have had success, some have not, but they actually found people who were resistant to Clomid. Okay, their bodies just didn't use it, or couldn't use it, and it didn't help them ovulate, didn't help them with pregnancy or anything like that. Okay, so they brought these people in, and one thing they looked at was their BMI. Now, you may have heard the word BMI. You go to their doctor, they say, oh, your BMI says you're obese, you're overweight, you're normal weight, whatever it is. BMI literally is a measurement of your height and your weight, okay? So these people looked at the BMI, and they had people take carnitine for 3 months, 12 weeks, to see what would happen. And they just monitored the BMI to see what would happen with that. And what they found was these women, their BMI dropped by 2 points, okay? So their average BMI was about 28, which is just shy of being obese, and they went down to 26, okay? Now, that may not sound really exciting until you take into consideration their height and everything. So I went and kind of figured it out. I went and got my wife, and I took her height, and I figured out how much she would have to weigh to be at a BMI of, 28, right? I figured that out, and I said, okay, now if she were to go down to a BMI of 26, how much weight would she lose? It would have been 15 pounds. Okay, here's the important thing. In this study, no one changed their diet. No one changed their exercise routine. No one did any of those things. All they did was took this L-carnitine, okay? And they lost anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds. Now, I have not seen any other studies out there on L-carnitine that have seen that dramatic of a weight loss. And a big reason why is because most people who are taking L-carnitine don't necessarily need it. Their body produces enough of it. They take some more. They take more carnitine through supplements, and yeah, they see a little bit of a boost. But this was huge, okay? Because again, these women with PCOS, and if you have PCOS, you're not producing the carnitine you need. So if you supplement with it, now you have that transporter to move fat across your fat cells. Now you can start burning more fat, right? Okay, so they ended up losing 10 to 15 pounds in 12 weeks, changing nothing. No change in exercise, no change in diet, just taking this supplement, okay? Does that make sense? Now, along with this, they looked at other indicators. And there's several studies. I looked at about 4 or 5 studies that were all looking at L-carnitine and its roles, and all of them saw very similar things. The numbers that I'm going to share with you and the results are basically the same across all 5 studies, which is really cool, okay? One is it improved all of their PCOS symptoms, okay? Menstrual cycles started becoming regular, right? It improved excess hair growth, which I have not seen that yet with many other things. Right? A lot of people come to me and say, well, how do I stop the hair growth, the hirsutism, or I think that's how you say it. How do I stop that, or how do I reverse that? Well, L-carnitine has actually been shown to reverse it. I think that's really cool, right? So you've got the weight loss with it. You've got the improvements of your menstrual cycle. Now, for those of you who are interested in fertility, because I know that PCOS is the leading cause of infertility in women. And this is a big reason why I do what I do, why I help women with PCOS deal or lose weight and all those things, because I know that by losing weight, it will improve your chances. Well, here's the interesting thing, okay? So again, these women were Clomid resistant, okay? So their body did not respond to Clomid. They could not get pregnant. So what they did is they brought these women in. They gave them some Clomid, and again, there's a whole protocol on how to do it, and I'll leave that up to your doctor and how to do it. They give it a certain time in your cycle and all these things and all that. Now, one group, they gave them L-carnitine along with the Clomid, okay? The other group, they just gave the Clomid. Now, here's what happened. Those who just took the Clomid, and this is just in one cycle, one menstrual cycle, so 1 month basically, okay? Those who just took the Clomid, 1% of them found out they were pregnant. Just 1%, right? That's really not that, I mean, awesome for that person, because basically it was just one person out of the whole group who found out they were pregnant. That's awesome. That's great. Really excited for them, right? Here's the interesting thing. Those who had the L-carnitine with the chlamyd, okay, those two things together, 49% of them ended up becoming pregnant. Okay, it improved their uterine walls, it improved ovulation, all of these things. Okay, all of this, the benefits, the things we're looking for to be able to induce pregnancy, all were so much better when they took the L-carnitine and the chlamyd together. Okay, so that's something you need to take to your doctor. Now, how much L-carnitine do you need? Now, the recommended dose for L-carnitine for the average person is about 1 gram per day. Now, all of these studies, all of them were doing 3 grams of L-carnitine per day. So what you need to do is start, if you're taking L-carnitine, jump it up to 3 grams per day. Okay, stop taking your 1 gram, start doing 3 grams per day. If you're not taking L-carnitine and you have PCOS, start taking it as soon as you can and start taking 3 grams of the L-carnitine per day. Okay, so if you want more help like this, right? If you want me as your researcher out there searching and trying to find things to help out you specifically, go ahead and schedule a call, right? Go to Fat Loss Acceleration. Oh my goodness, that's the wrong website. That's another website I have. Okay, go to what website is it? Fat Extraction Method. There we go. Go to fatextractionmethod.com and we'll talk. Okay, we'll get things figured out so we can make sure that you see the success that you want to see. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here and listening to me, and I'll talk to you all later. Hey there, I hope you liked this video and I hope you got something from it, something you can go and apply today. And if you did, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like this video. And more importantly, go ahead and share it with your friends so that they can get the same benefit that you have. Thanks for watching, and I've got more to share with you in the coming weeks.